In the quiet corners of a small town nestled between rolling hills and dusty roads, where the sun rose lazily over modest homes and the air carried the scent of fresh bread and blooming jasmine, lived a girl named Aisha. This town was the kind where secrets were shared over evening tea, where neighbors knew your name before you spoke it, and where dreams often whispered but rarely shouted. Aisha, with her wide brown eyes and a smile that hid more than it revealed, was one of those quiet souls who blended into the background like a shadow at dusk. She wasn't the girl who turned heads or sparked conversations, she was the one who observed, who listened, who dreamed in silence. But beneath that unassuming exterior burned a quiet fire, a desire to break free from the invisible chains that held her back. And it all began with a language that felt both distant and daunting: English. Aisha was a quiet girl who lived in a small town where everyone knew each other. She was not famous, not rich, and not confident. Every morning, she woke up early, helped her mother in the kitchen, and then went to college with a bag full of books and a heart full of dreams she never spoke about. The kitchen was her first classroom of the day, filled with the rhythmic clatter of pots and pans, the sizzle of onions in hot oil, and her mother's gentle hums of old folk songs. Aisha, Beta, pass the spices, her mother would say, her hands moving with the expertise of years. Aisha would nod, her mind already wandering to the lectures ahead, to the worlds trapped in her textbooks. She wanted to speak English fluently. But she was afraid. Whenever her teacher asked a question in English, Aisha's heart started beating fast. Her hands became cold, and her voice disappeared. She knew the answers, but the fear of making mistakes stopped her. Some students laughed when others spoke wrong English, and that fear lived inside her like a shadow. In class, she sat at the back, her notebook open but her pen hovering uncertainly. The teacher, Mr. Rahman, with his thick glasses and patient demeanor, would scan the room. Who can tell me the meaning of resilient? Aisha's mind would race, strong, unbreakable, like the old banyan tree in the town square, but her lips stayed sealed. The giggles from the front row, from girls like Ria who spoke with effortless flair, pierced her like thorns. Why can't I be like them? She'd wonder on the walk home, her bag heavy on her shoulders. At home, things were not easy either. Her father worked long hours at the local mill, coming home with dust on his clothes and exhaustion in his eyes. Money was always tight, a constant whisper in their conversations. "We need to save for your brother's education," her father would say over dinner, his voice weary. Aisha would nod, pushing her food around her plate, her own dreams feeling like a luxury she couldn't afford. Many times, Aisha thought about leaving her studies and helping her family, perhaps taking a job at the tailor shop or assisting in the fields. But deep inside, she believed that education, and English, could change her life. It was a belief that flickered like a candle in the wind, fragile but persistent. One evening, while cleaning old boxes in the storeroom, Aisha found an old diary. The storeroom was a forgotten corner of their home, cluttered with faded photographs, broken furniture, and memories wrapped in dust. As she wiped away the grime from a wooden box, her fingers brushed against a leather-bound book, its edges frayed and pages yellowed with time. It belonged to her late aunt, Sarah, who once lived in the same house. Aunt Sarah had been a mystery in the family tales, a woman who dared to dream beyond the town's borders, who had passed away too young from an illness that no one spoke of openly. Curious, Aisha opened it, the spine creaking like a secret being revealed. The diary was written in simple English. At first, Aisha smiled, tracing the elegant loops of the handwriting. Then she started reading, the words pulling her in like a gentle current. Sarah wrote about her dreams, her fears, and her struggles. She wrote how people told her that girls should stay silent, how English was not for people like them, and how she decided to learn it anyway. Entries spoke of stolen moments under a lantern's glow, practicing phrases from borrowed books, facing ridicule from relatives who called her ambitions foolish. "Today, I spoke my first full sentence in English to the shopkeeper," one page read. "He laughed, but I felt alive. Aisha felt like someone was speaking directly to her heart, as if Aunt Sarah had foreseen her niece's struggles across the years. From that day, Aisha made a small promise to herself: I will read 1 page of English every day. No excuses. She started with a diary. Every night, after finishing her housework, washing dishes, sweeping the floors, folding laundry, she sat near the window and read slowly. The window overlooked a narrow alley where children played cricket until the stars appeared, their laughter a distant soundtrack to her focus. She didn't understand every word, but she didn't stop. She wrote new words in a notebook: resilient, aspire, perseverance, and checked their meanings on her phone, the screen's glow illuminating her determined face. Sometimes, she'd whisper them aloud, testing their shape on her tongue: resilient. Her room, shared with her younger sister who slept soundly, became her sanctuary. Slowly, something changed. English was no longer an enemy. It became a friend. At college, Aisha still didn't speak much, but she started listening carefully. She noticed how others formed sentences, the rise and fall of their voices, the way words danced together. In the cafeteria, she'd eavesdrop on conversations: did you see that movie? It was awesome. She'd repeat them silently, committing the rhythm to memory. She practiced speaking alone, looking at herself in the mirror, her reflection a silent coach. Hello, my name is Aisha. I am learning English. I am not afraid. At first, her pronunciation was bad: harsh consonants, misplaced accents. Her grammar was weak, sentences tumbling out in fragments. But she continued, day after day, the mirror witnessing her progress. One day, the English teacher announced a presentation competition. Each student had to speak for 3 minutes, in English. The classroom buzzed with excitement and groans. Mr. Rahman explained, "This is your chance to shine. Topics can be anything: your dreams, your town, your heroes." Aisha's heart sank. 3 minutes felt like 3 hours, an eternity under scrutinizing eyes. She thought about not participating, her mind racing with excuses: too busy at home, not ready yet. But then she remembered her aunt's diary, the words that had become her anchor: dreams don't wait for permission. She remembered the promise she made to herself, the notebook filling with words like badges of honor. She raised her hand. The class became silent. Even the teacher looked surprised, his eyebrows arching. Aisha? Wonderful. What's your topic? She swallowed hard. My journey with English. The day of the presentation arrived. The auditorium was modest, with creaky wooden chairs and a stage that echoed every footstep. Aisha stood on the stage, her legs shaking like leaves in a storm. Her hands were trembling, clutching a crumpled paper with notes. The audience, classmates, teachers, a few parents, blurred into a sea of faces. But she started speaking. Good morning, everyone. My name is Aisha. Her voice was low, but clear, cutting through the hush. She made mistakes, stumbling over confident, mixing tenses. She paused, searching for words. She forgot a sentence midway, her mind blanking like a sudden fog. But she did not stop. She pushed through, drawing strength from Aunt Sarah's invisible presence. When she finished, the room was quiet for a second, the air thick with anticipation. Then the teacher smiled and started clapping, his applause breaking the spell. Slowly, others joined, the sound building like rain on a tin roof. Aisha did not win first prize, that went to Riya, with her polished delivery. But she won something more important: confidence. It was a quiet victory, one that bloomed in her chest like a flower after rain. From that day, Aisha changed her routine. She started watching English videos daily, simple ones on YouTube, about everyday conversations, stories of inspiring women. She listened to English stories while cooking, earphones tucked in as she chopped vegetables, the narrator's voice mingling with the aroma of spices. She repeated sentences aloud while walking to college, ignoring curious glances from passers-by. "The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog," she'd murmur, practicing tongue twisters under her breath. English became part of her life, woven into the fabric of her days like thread in a tapestry. Months passed, each one a stepping stone. Aisha's notebook grew thicker, her mirror practices more fluid. She began journaling her own thoughts in English, simple entries about her day. "Today, I helped mother make roti. It was tiring, but I felt happy." One afternoon, while scrolling on her phone during a break, Aisha received an email from a small online company. They were looking for a content assistant who knew basic English. The ad popped up like fate's nudge: entry-level position. Flexible hours. Must be willing to learn. Her heart raced, not with fear, but excitement. She applied, typing her resume with careful keystrokes, her cover letter honest: "I am passionate about English and eager to contribute." She was nervous during the interview, a video call that made her palms sweat. The interviewer, a kind-faced woman named Priya, asked simple questions: "Tell me about yourself." Aisha spoke haltingly, but truthfully. She told them she was still learning, sharing a bit about her presentation triumph. They selected her. It was her first job, a remote role writing short descriptions for products. The pay was modest, but it meant independence, a contribution to her family's tight budget. Her income helped her family, paying for her brother's school fees, buying extra groceries. Her confidence helped her grow, a quiet bloom turning heads at home. She started helping other girls in her town to learn English, gathering them in her courtyard on weekends. She told them one simple thing: you don't need perfect English. You need courage. After getting her first job, Aisha's life slowly began to change, but the journey was not easy. The office was virtual, but the demands were real. Every new email she received made her nervous, the subject lines looming like challenges. She read each sentence again and again before replying, double-checking grammar on apps. Sometimes, she spent 10 minutes writing one simple reply: "Thank you for your feedback. I will update the description accordingly." She was afraid of making mistakes, the old shadow lurking. But this time, fear did not stop her. She remembered how afraid she was before her first presentation, the tremor in her voice, and how proud she felt after finishing it, the applause echoing in her ears. That memory gave her strength, a shield against doubt. Every morning, before starting her work, Aisha followed a small routine. She read one English article, from news sites about global stories, women leaders, cultural shifts. She listened to one short English story, podcasts about everyday heroes that inspired her. And she practiced speaking for 5 minutes, sometimes to herself, sometimes recording her voice on her phone. "Hello, team. Today, I worked on," she'd say, playing it back critically. At first, she did not like her voice, it sounded strange, accented, unsure. But slowly, it became familiar, a part of her she embraced. Her manager, Mr. Khan, noticed her effort. He was a stern but fair man, always pushing for improvement. One day, he asked her to join an online meeting. "We need your input on the new campaign," he emailed. Aisha's heart started racing again. Speaking English live was different from writing emails, real-time, no edits. That night, she could not sleep, tossing on her mat as questions swirled. What if I forget words? What if they laugh? What if I fail? Then she opened her Aunt Sarah's diary again, the pages now worn from frequent reads. One sentence caught her attention: fear grows when we run from it. It becomes smaller when we face it. The next day, Aisha joined the meeting, her laptop screen filled with faces from across the country. She spoke slowly, introducing her ideas on product descriptions. She paused often, searching for the right phrase. She made mistakes, saying informations instead of information. But no one laughed. Instead, people listened, nodding encouragingly. After the meeting, her manager sent her a message, "Good job, Aisha. Keep practicing." That simple message meant the world to her, a validation that fueled her forward. At home, her mother noticed a change too. Aisha started speaking more confidently, even in her own language, her voice carrying a new firmness during family discussions. Her posture changed, from hunched shoulders to a straight back. Her eyes carried hope, brightening the dim evenings. One evening, a neighbor came to visit, Mrs. Ahmed, with her usual bundle of worries. She complained about her daughter, Sanaa, who was scared of learning English, freezing in class much like Aisha once did. Aisha listened quietly, sipping tea, then smiled softly. "I can help her," Aisha said, her words steady. That was the beginning of something new. Every weekend, Aisha taught English to two girls from her neighborhood, Sanaa and her friend Mira. They sat under the shade of the neem tree in the courtyard, notebooks open. She didn't teach grammar rules first, the dry lessons that had once intimidated her. Instead, she told stories, simple tales of brave girls, magical adventures, everyday triumphs. She encouraged them to speak without fear, starting with fun games. Describe your favorite food in 3 words. Wrong English is better than no English, she said, her eyes twinkling. The girls laughed, relaxed, and slowly began to speak, halting at first, then with growing enthusiasm. "I like mango, very sweet," Sanaa ventured, beaming when Aisha praised her. Teaching others helped Aisha learn more herself. She realized that English was not just a subject, it was a skill, a bridge to the world, connecting hearts and opening doors. Months passed, and Aisha received another opportunity. Her company offered her a better position with more responsibility, a junior content writer, tasked with creating blog posts. This time, she had to write reports and explain ideas in English during team huddles. She felt scared again, the familiar knot in her stomach. But this fear felt different, smaller, more manageable, like a wave she could ride rather than drown in. She accepted the offer, diving in with renewed vigor. There were days when she felt tired, juggling work, teaching, and home duties. Days when she wanted to give up, staring at a blank screen as words eluded her. Days when English still felt difficult, idioms slipping through her grasp. But she reminded herself of how far she had come, from the silent girl in class to the one leading discussions. She was no longer the girl who stayed silent. She was becoming a voice. One day, Aisha was invited to speak at a small local event about education and self-growth, organized by the town's community center. She was asked to speak in English, sharing her story to inspire others. This time, she did not say no. The invitation felt like a milestone, a full circle from her college presentation. She prepared for weeks, outlining her speech on scraps of paper. She practiced in front of the mirror, timing herself. In front of her family, who listened with pride, her father nodding approvingly, her mother wiping tears. Even in front of her students, Sanaa and Mira, who cheered her on. She focused on one message: if I can learn English, anyone can. The day arrived. The venue was a modest hall, decorated with banners and filled with townsfolk, farmers, shopkeepers, students. She stood on the stage, lights shining warmly, people watching expectantly. She smiled, taking a deep breath. And she spoke. Her English was not perfect, occasional hesitations, a regional lilt, but it was powerful, infused with emotion. She shared her fears, her discoveries, her triumphs. People listened carefully. Some nodded in agreement. Some smiled in recognition. Some wiped tears, moved by her honesty. After her speech, many girls came to her, clustering around like eager birds. "You inspired us," they said, their voices a chorus of hope. That moment changed Aisha forever. She realized her story was bigger than her fear, it was a beacon for others. Years later, Aisha started an online channel where she shared English stories for beginners. It began small, with her phone camera in her room, but grew as word spread. She spoke slowly, clearly, and confidently, breaking down lessons into digestible bites. Today, let's learn about greetings. Hello, how are you? Thousands of people listened, people just like her, from small towns and big cities, afraid but aspiring. People who were afraid. People who wanted to change. And every time she ended a video, she said the same words, don't wait to be perfect. Start now. As Aisha's online channel started growing, her life became busier than ever. Subscribers climbed from hundreds to thousands, her inbox flooding with messages. Every day, she received notes from people in different cities and even different countries, housewives in Lahore, students in Mumbai, workers in Dubai. Some thanked her profusely, your video helped me pass my interview. Some shared their struggles, I'm scared like you were, but I'm trying. Some said her stories gave them courage to speak English for the first time, breaking silences in their own lives. Reading those messages made her emotional, tears blurring her screen. She remembered her own fear, the nights of doubt. She remembered the silent girl she once was, hiding in the shadows. Now, she was helping others find their voice, a ripple effect she never imagined. But success brought new challenges, like thorns on a rose stem. One day, Aisha received a negative comment on her video, buried among the praise. Your English is not perfect. You make mistakes. You should stop teaching. The words hurt her deeply, stabbing at the insecurities she'd thought conquered. That night, Aisha felt heavy inside, a weight pressing on her chest. She sat quietly in her room, staring at her screen, the cursor blinking mockingly. Old fears returned like unwanted guests, whispering doubts. What if they are right? What if I am not good enough? For the first time in a long while, she thought about quitting, deleting the channel, retreating to safety. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, the room silent except for the distant call of a night bird. Then she opened her old notebook, the one where she had written her first English words, pages filled with shaky handwriting, broken sentences like I am go to school. She smiled through tears, tracing the evolution. If I stop now, she whispered to the empty room, what message will I give others? The next day, she recorded a new video, her voice steady despite the storm inside. In that video, she spoke honestly, facing the camera directly. I am still learning, she said, her eyes sincere. I still make mistakes. But I will not stop. She shared the comment, turning vulnerability into strength. Criticism hurts, but it also teaches. Let's learn together. That video became her most watched, views soaring as shares multiplied. People loved her honesty, flooding the comments with support, you're real, that's why we follow you. They connected with her truth, realizing that learning English was not about perfection, it was about progress, about showing up despite the flaws. Slowly, Aisha's confidence returned, stronger than before, forged in the fire of adversity. Her father, who once worried about her future with furrowed brows, now listened to her English videos proudly, playing them on his phone during breaks at the mill. My daughter is a teacher, he'd boast to coworkers. Her mother shared her videos with relatives, beaming during family gatherings. The same family that once feared change, whispering about girls pursuing fancy things, now celebrated it, toasts raised in her honor. One afternoon, amid the bustle of editing a new video, Aisha received an email from an educational organization based in the city. The subject line read, Collaboration Opportunity. They wanted her to create simple English content for beginners, especially girls from small towns, curriculums, videos, workshops tailored to empower the underserved. She read the email twice, her pulse quickening. Then 3 times, absorbing the details, a paid role, resources provided, impact on thousands. Her hands shook, not from fear, but from excitement, a thrill that danced in her veins. She accepted the offer, her reply professional yet heartfelt. This new role required discipline, a step up from her solo channel. She created scripts with care, outlining lessons on vocabulary, conversations, cultural nuances. She recorded lessons in a makeshift studio, her room transformed with better lighting and a microphone. She answered questions daily, mentoring virtually, her days a blend of creation and connection. Some days were exhausting, deadlines looming, technical glitches frustrating. Some nights were sleepless, ideas swirling as she planned. But she felt fulfilled, a sense of purpose that lit her from within. She was no longer just learning English. She was building futures, one word at a time. During one online workshop, a virtual room filled with eager faces, a young girl raised her hand digitally and asked, her voice timid, "Did you ever feel scared like us?" Aisha smiled gently, leaning closer to the camera. "Yes," she replied, her tone warm. "I was scared every day." The room became silent, participants holding their breath. But fear did not disappear, Aisha continued, her words measured. "I just decided not to obey it." Those words stayed with the girls, echoing in their minds long after the session ended. Emails poured in, "Your story gave me strength." Aisha knew then that her journey was inspiring a chain reaction. Years passed, marked by milestones big and small. Aisha's channel hit 1 million subscribers, her organization role expanding to international collaborations. She traveled to cities she'd only read about, speaking at conferences, her suitcase filled with notebooks and dreams realized. And Aisha stood in front of a large audience once again. This time, she was invited as a speaker, not a learner, at a global education summit in a grand hall with chandeliers and delegates from around the world. The theme, empowering voices through language. She was the keynote, her name on banners. Nerves fluttered, but they were old friends now. She spoke about language, confidence, and courage, weaving her story with universal truths. She shared anecdotes from her town, her aunt's diary, her students' triumphs. She ended her speech with a simple line, "English did not change my life. Believing in myself did." The audience stood and clapped, a thunderous ovation that filled the hall. And somewhere in that crowd, a quiet girl listened, just like Aisha once did, her eyes wide with possibility. And the cycle began again, a legacy of courage passed on. In the years that followed, Aisha's influence only grew. She authored a book, From Silence to Stories, a memoir laced with English lessons, becoming a bestseller in educational circles. Schools in her town adopted her methods, inviting her for guest lectures. She mentored hundreds, her online community a vibrant hub of learners sharing progress. But amid the acclaim, Aisha remained grounded, returning to her small town often. She'd walk the dusty roads, visit her aunt's grave, whispering thanks. At home, she'd cook with her mother, now retired, sharing laughs in a mix of languages. Her father, in his twilight years, would say, "You proved me wrong, Beta. And I'm glad." Aisha's life became a testament to perseverance. She married a supportive partner who encouraged her work, started a family, teaching her children the value of words. Her daughter, named Sarah after the aunt who sparked it all, grew up hearing bedtime stories in flawless English. Challenges came, health scares, economic dips, online trolls, but Aisha faced them with the resilience she'd once defined in class. She expanded her organization, partnering with NGOs to provide free resources to remote villages, bridging digital divides. As she aged gracefully, her hair streaked with silver, Aisha reflected on her path. From the girl afraid to speak, to the woman who inspired nations. Her message endured: start small, persist, believe. And in quiet towns everywhere, girls like her picked up diaries, phones, mirrors, and began. And so, Aisha's story continues to touch hearts across the world. From a quiet girl in a small town who was once afraid to speak, she became a voice of hope for millions, a reminder that no dream is too small, and no fear is too big, if you take one brave step at a time. Her journey teaches us one powerful truth: you don't need to be perfect to start. You just need to begin. If Aisha's story inspired you, if it made you believe that you, too, can find your voice, learn something new, or chase a dream you've been hiding, then take that feeling with you today. Start small. Speak one sentence. Read one page. Face one fear. Because someone, somewhere, is waiting to be inspired by your story, just like Aisha was inspired by her Aunt Sarah. Thank you for listening to Aisha's journey. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss a new story that might change the way you see yourself. Share it with someone who needs courage today. Share it with a sister, a daughter, a friend, or with the quiet girl inside you who's ready to speak. Remember Aisha's words. Don't wait to be perfect. Start now. See you in the next story. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing in yourself. Thank you. And goodbye.